After approximately 4 months of discussion and scrutiny, Scottsbluff County's largest solar project is put on hold. KNEB.TV News starts right now.
From your trusted source for news in western Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, this is KNEB.TV News. Presented by Platte Valley Companies, premier provider of financial services.
Hello, I'm Ryan Murphy. This is KNEB.TV News, powered by Platte Valley Companies. Thanks for joining me. In our top story, after nearly 3 hours of discussion and debate, some of it fairly passionate and heated, Scottsbluff County Commissioners on Monday night voted 3-2 to reject a conditional use permit for a utility-grade solar project. As proposed, the Situla Solar Energy Project would have placed well over 600,000 solar panels, generating up to 400 megawatts of power on about 1,500 acres of land in the Preston Trust. Commissioner Charlie Knapper was skeptical of many aspects of the project, saying despite some assistance from an outside engineer, more expertise in the field and time was needed.
Can come up with the important and necessary regulations and conditions to put on this permit. There's no way we can do it. It is completely over our heads. We have to deny this permit to protect the county from what we don't know.
Attorney Kyle Long, representing Dunley Energy, had argued the question was purely one of whether the proposal conforms to the county's zoning regulations, and arguments about the company and other technical aspects were not what the board should be considering. One of the points of contention was whether the company had the right to seek the permit under the state law as originally submitted, or whether the landowner needed to make the application. Knapper was joined by Commissioners Michael Blue and Russ Reisig in voting against the conditional use permit. Well, the Scottsbluff City Council has voted in favor of changing the agreement with Scottsbluff Public Schools and their interlocal crossing guard agreement. During Monday night's council meeting, City Manager Kevin Spencer noted the two entities have had a standing agreement that they split the costs of the cross guards not to exceed $15,000 per school year.
The biggest changes in paragraph 7. It went from an amount of $15,000 to $20,000. So that's really the only change in this agreement. We were getting really close to that $15,000 annually, and we just need to increase it because it reads that not to exceed $20,000. So we were about to exceed $15,000.
He also said the hope is that the buffer funds might be able to be used to have a few substitute crossing guards, as the Scottsbluff Police Department's animal control officer is typically the first to be called in to fill in as a replacement. We'll have more news right after this.
Looking for free instead of fees? Platte Valley Bank can help you keep your finances moving forward with no ATM fees. Whether you're headed to the lake, the mountains, or just to the grocery store, you can enjoy the freedom of free ATM access anywhere, anytime. Platte Valley Bank. You belong here.
Welcome back. A Scottsbluff woman who was arrested following a drug bust at the Capri Motel has been sentenced to prison. 35-year-old Stephanie Ramos Juarez was charged after investigators found more than 800 suspected fentanyl pills, 11 grams of methamphetamine, cash, and drug paraphernalia. That was after a search warrant was executed at a room at the Capri. She ultimately pleaded no contest to charges of attempted possession of meth with intent to distribute and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl, as well as forfeit the $3,300 cash that was seized. Last Thursday, District Judge Andrea Miller sentenced her to 3 to 5 years in prison on both counts, which will run concurrently, and received credit for 73 days already served. Well, 3 area projects have been awarded funding by the Tourism Committee of the Scottsbluff Area Visitors Bureau. The Scottsbluff County Ag Society is receiving funds to help with a project to help revive the grandstands, with plans for a mural depicting the region's farm life, history, and amazing beauty. After a summer off, the Circle the Bluffs Powwow returns with a late June celebration, and sports incentive funds go to the 308 United Softball program to help with costs associated with larger tournaments they will be hosting throughout the summer. And Governor Jim Pillen requested a federal major disaster declaration for 8 Nebraska Panhandle counties impacted by winter storm conditions on April 6th and 7th. What began with thunderstorms and heavy rains developed into a system that produced freezing rain, snow, strong winds, and blizzard conditions. The most significant damage was to power systems, including downed power lines. The 5 utility systems affected by the storm reported more than 2,000 power poles were broken or knocked down, in addition to damage to other system hardware. Some residents in the impacted areas were without electricity for up to a week. A preliminary estimate puts the cost of damage exceeding $10.5 million. Federal funding approval would help cover costs to repair or replace public infrastructure.
Life is crazy. Pain is stressful. How can anybody concentrate with these busy schedules? Now you can. This is Ben Moravec coming to you from Hydrozen, a float therapy business right here in Scottsbluff. I'm here today to let you know we now have memberships for $49 monthly. You can guarantee yourself at least 1 float per month. You know how floating keeps your muscles relaxed, your joints relieved, and your brain clear to think? Now you can float at a reduced rate each month. Inquire today at hydrozenfloat.com or call us at 308-63-FLOAT. Hydrozen. Unplug and recharge.
Why love a rain garden? Let me count the ways. Rain gardens contain and filter water runoff while recharging our underground water supply. They provide habitat for birds, bees, and beneficial insects. Native perennials give 4 seasons of color and texture, beautifying a home while increasing its value. Established gardens are low-maintenance, low-water landscape features, colorful, functional, and sustainable. Rain gardens. Brought to you by Tri-City Stormwater. Our water, our responsibility.
The wait is over. Ensemble entry doors exclusively from Renewal by Andersen have arrived with an incredible offer. Secure, timeless style, elegant features, customized countless ways with the legendary quality of Renewal by Andersen. Right now, you get 20% off every Ensemble entry door, no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months, no payments for a year. Please scan the QR code on your screen or visit rbawyoming.com now to book your free estimate. Ensemble entry doors, the wait is over.
This is KNEB.TV Ag News from the Scottsbluff Body and Paint Ag Desk. Scottsbluff Body and Paint, you're driving home our reputation.
Bryce Duskett here on the Rural Radio Network, and joining us to discuss some latest news coming out of Washington, D.C. is the president of the Nebraska Corn Growers Association, that is Chris Grams. Chris, appreciate your time as always, and today we're talking about sustainable aviation fuel and some modeling that the Nebraska Corn Growers Association is a bit upset about. Size up the situation here.
Yeah, we're very, very frustrated with the report that come out from the Treasury for the SAF, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel, saying that we need to adopt a mandatory no-till, cover crops, and cut down on our fertilizer use efficiency. So it was very devastating to hear that it was mandatory in order to get our ethanol up to the grade to participate in the SAF production.
When it comes to the work behind the scenes, I'm sure, at the Nebraska level, but of course at the National Corn Growers Association level, they were lobbying, I suppose, or trying to position corn and ethanol to be fit this model. What in particular were you hoping for from this announcement?
We were hoping that overall just to get, our corn and the entire Corn Belt's corn able to use for sustainable aviation fuel. There's so many different practices out there. You go east, they like to work the ground. You go west, they strip till. There's guys around here that that no-till, they strip-till. Everybody is different, and we wanted it to make it so that in order for everybody's corn to be able to be used for it, because I mean, not every practice is perfect for everybody else's operation. I know cover crops is a big thing, and you can do the CSP program through NRCS, but it's a portion of the funding in order to get cover crops going, and that's a huge investment just to get into the cover crop world. I mean, you got to buy a drill and tender, and then if the seed companies hear that it's an NRCS blend, well, they like to spike the prices a little bit higher, unfortunately.
As I read this announcement, of course, all corn, regardless of the practices, could be blended as part of into ethanol and then sustainable aviation fuel, but it would not qualify for tax credits through the Inflation Reduction Act, if I recall the language specifically. But is a thought there, Chris, that if there's not a tax incentive for those folks making SAF, they're not going to want corn that doesn't qualify for that? Is that kind of the read here?
That's kind of what I've understood, Bryce. I've kind of done a little reading onto it. You know, planting season, that's kind of our main priority right now. So it's on that. We got a rainstorm coming, so I'm hoping that I can sit down and go through that once it starts raining.
Is this final at this point as you understand things, or is there still a chance maybe to go back and have the Treasury tweak the language?
The way I understand it, it's final, but, you know, not everything is final until it's written on paper and signed by someone. So we're hoping that it's not final, but we just got to hope and pray that we can get this thing changed and they adopt our corn for the sustainable aviation fuel.
Ask you something about that here in a second, but just pulling some news this morning, getting comments from Senator Chuck Grassley. He had an interesting perspective, pointing out that folks in Washington, D.C., perhaps not familiar with how grain is handled across the Midwest and elsewhere. He was making the point that, you know, everything gets loaded onto a semi 1,000 bushels at a time, hauled into the elevator, and then from there, of course, it gets all blended together. And he thought his perspective was, how are you going to try to track this when it comes to bringing everybody together? You sharing that same concern, Chris?
Yeah, Bryce, it's going to be an absolute nightmare trying to keep everything lined up. You know, what load went where. We do a pretty good job now, but sometimes bushels get transferred from this field to that field, and knowing what comes to what bin, or say you got a great big bin and you just keep piling crops on top of it, there's same moisture and all that. Well, you're not going to know what kernels coming out of that bin go to what field. I mean, you can get a pretty darn good estimate with a scale at your facility, but it's not going to be perfect.
And finally, I believe you saw a report, I imagine you did. It was kind of circulating on Twitter, had to do with, I believe there were South American being imported into the United States for blending into sustainable aviation fuel. Certainly had some folks in the ethanol industry and the corn industry a bit upset about that. Do you have a chance to see that article or that headline, Chris?
Yeah, I did. Oh, what'd that come out last week or something like that? Brazil, or I can't remember if it was Brazil or Argentina. It's South America importing their crop, their sugarcane crop ethanol into Georgia, and it's extremely frustrating. You know, we produce a lot of corn here, produce a lot of ethanol. Why can't we get that down to Georgia or build a plant close by that we can use this ethanol? And then the ruling that come out, it was really devastating to hear that they can't make it work unless they mandate doing the no-till, the cover crops, and the cut down on nitrogen, which we're hoping to cut down. It's just all of that at one time. It's going to be very hard to do.
Where do you think growers will go, like yourself, from here? Do you think you'll end up trying to add in some of those practices because of this?
You know, I do, but we got to get everybody to do it. You know, I'm doing the cover crops. We're cutting down on nitrogen. We do a minimum strip till. We just fracture the top half inch to inch of the ground. So I would say we're doing our pretty good start at it. It's just, you got to get everybody to adopt these practices in order for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else on your mind this morning, Chris?
Nope. Just hope everyone gets safely done planting and that we keep getting moisture.
Welcome to Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. Whether you're a wine enthusiast, a whiskey sommelier, a tequila connoisseur, or you just love your beer, Kelly's has the best selection of what you're looking for. Family owned and operated since 1946 and right on 27th Street in Scottsbluff. Come see us today at Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. And remember to be a good neighbor. Don't drink and drive. Kelly's Liquor, West 27th Street in Scottsbluff.
The community calendar is brought to you by Riverstone Bank. We're local and we love our community.
Better sleep and better health can be found at Western Sleep Medicine in Gering. Since 2006, Western Sleep Medicine has offered the lowest cost sleep testing either in their independent sleep laboratory or the privacy of your own home. You have control over your health care and your out-of-pocket cost. All insurance is accepted for a much lower cost than the regional option. If you need a sleep study, ask for Western Sleep Medicine. They've helped thousands of people over the years and want to help you. Western Sleep Medicine. Better sleep, better health.
Tired of feeling stuck? Not sure if you are on the right track? Platte Valley Bank can help keep your finances moving forward with checking account options to fit your lifestyle and an online account chooser to make finding the right account easy. Control your financial future with helpful budgeting tools and automatic savings plans. Now is the time to enjoy the ride with Platte Valley Bank. You belong here.
And finally tonight, United Way of Western Nebraska and Riverstone Bank are proud to announce their partnership in hosting the 7th Annual United Way Color Dash, with registration kicking off in an explosion of color in front of the bank's Scottsbluff branch on Friday. The Color Dash, presented by Riverstone Bank, is a colorful 5K for runners of all levels and abilities set for June 1st in Gering. Racers will be completely transformed by vibrant color throughout different splash stations.
We take a beautiful route all through the streets of Gering with the beautiful Scottsbluff Monument behind us. We have 8 splash stations, so you have such a great opportunity to get splashed with lots of different color. We have also kept registration the same price to make it really easy for families and lots of our local participants to be a part of the Color Dash, and so we're so grateful.
For more information and to get signed up, you can go to the United Way of Western Nebraska's website. Well, that does it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. We'll see you here next time.